everyone, thank you for stopping by my channel today. I got my hands on the Makeup Forever Ultra HD line. Part of my challenge was that everyone was talking really highly about it. When you go on Sephora's website, there's the allure, like Best in Beauty, some kind of, it got that red medallion award, which kind of means that everybody likes it. And my initial impressions were kind of not like that. And I thought, what's wrong with me? There must be something wrong with me. And so I kept going with it because sometimes your first impression isn't always accurate. So I've got a full and honest report on what I think about them. So if you're interested in seeing what I think about the Makeup Forever Ultra HD products, then just keep watching. So let me start with the foundation. They came out with two different styles. One of them was a foundation stick, and the other one was the standard foundation bottle. I was drawn to the stick because it seemed like that would be so easy. You draw some like whiskers on your face, take your brush or beauty blender and you blend it in, you're good to go. The reports on the foundation stick were that it was more for dry skin because it was a very luminous finish. And maybe come summertime, when the notion of trying to look matte just really isn't achievable when you're in the sun, I might actually give it a go at that point. It's comparably priced. It's about an ounce, I think like a hair more than an ounce. It's $43, which is pretty much right in line. I love the Too Faced Born This Way foundation, and that one is about the same price, maybe a couple dollars cheaper. So I was actually really pleased. I was expecting a Makeup Forever product to be a little bit pricier. I think the color selection is amazing, and this was part of the reason that I didn't even buy it at first, because whenever I would go into the store, I'd like look at like I think there's like 40 shades, and I'd look at the 40 shades and I was just so overwhelmed. I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't even have the patience to try to find my shade right now, because that is a tremendous pet peeve of mine when I bring a foundation shade home and it doesn't go with my skin. Shouldn't we be more advanced as humanity to be able to appropriately get our right foundation shade on the first selection? Apparently I'm asking too much of the universe. So I finally decided to give it a go, and I dedicated the Sephora shopping trip to picking out my foundation shade. Makeup Forever describes the foundation as invisible coverage. Invisible, and I was like, well, that seems like a good thing. I don't want to walk around advertising that I did not wake up this way, so the idea of it being invisible on my skin, I was very intrigued. They describe it as being medium coverage, medium to buildable coverage. Now let me just say, in a haul when I highlighted this product, I said at that time that I had a love-hate relationship with it. The foundation calling itself invisible, right on point, on the money. You can't see it. You know why? Because you really can't see it. Describing itself as medium to buildable coverage, I have a hard time with that. I definitely had to go back in and spot conceal more so than I'm even used to. And that's just kind of an indication of the level of coverage that it was giving me. It is very hard to work with. I was finding that brushes were applying it with streaks. I tried a wide variety of brushes and styles of brushes, a flat kabuki, a soft round bristle, a dense round bristle, different kinds of brushes, different lines of brushes. I tried a beauty blender, which I love the beauty blender, but I'm just not a fan of it, in that I don't have time every day to stand under the sink and soak it and squeeze it and towel it off. What is that, high maintenance? Actually, I think it's low maintenance. I don't have the time to do that. So overall, I do prefer brushes, but I thought, well, for this one, maybe it needs the beauty blender. And the beauty blender was a little bit easier, but still I was finding the application of the foundation to just not be seamless. I expected more of a $43 foundation. I even tried different primers, mattifying primers, maybe that were a little bit tacky, all over smoothing primers. I ran this through a series of variables. I was like a high school student in the science experiment class. I most especially had trouble around my nose, which that's kind of true all my life, because I have always felt that my nose was too big for my face. My nose came from grandma, and although I love grandma, I do not love her nose. So ultimately, it took a lot of work for it to apply nicely and evenly. And so that's my love-hate. I didn't actually hate it, but those were my frustrations. My love part of it is that once you got it to apply nicely and evenly and non-streaky and non-splotchy, it really looked good. It looked very, as it said, invisible. So ultimately, if you put the time in to this particular foundation's application and you find the right recipe of tools and primer, etc. that work for you, I think then it would be worth the money because of the way it flawlessly finishes you off. But I have to say, honestly, there are some days where I look at it and I'm like, I totally want to use you today, but I do not have the effort, nor the time, nor the patience. So that's $43 of mild levels of frustration. What are your thoughts on this foundation? Maybe I'm doing something wrong, and that's entirely possible. And so if you've got any pointers or tips, feel free to let me know. The concealer, on the other hand, I think is a gem. I have really been loving the concealer. Now they've got brightening concealers and they've got like corrector concealers. Correctors, if you're gonna go in with like a peachy or a salmon-y based color concealer first in order to really cancel out blue or purple or dark circles. They've got that end of concealers, and then they also have the brightening concealers for those who just want to brighten up their under eye and don't have a major issue with under eye circles. So I focused specifically on the non-correcting line. I focused on the under eye brightener and concealing end of their spectrum of products. So I mentioned in my top 5 high-end beauty products that the NARS Radiant Creamy Concealer is one of my favorite, or is my favorite under eye concealer kind of ever. That one has a doe foot applicator. This concealer does not. This one is just like a squeezy tube. What I do is I take the squeezy tube, squeeze out a little portion onto my hand, and then I'll take my under eye concealer brush and I'll dab it in there and then apply. I tried applying the concealer directly to under my eye in what I imagined to be tiny little circles, and that did not work out that way. This thing splooges a little bit. You do not have a lot of control. So the best way for me to talk about this concealer is by comparing it to 2 other very popular ones. I just mentioned that I love the NARS Radiant Creamy Concealer, and that concealer is, from some people's reports, too thick. And I talked in that top 5 video about why I enjoyed it as a thicker concealer. Another popular one out there is by IT Cosmetics. It's the Bye Bye Under Eye Concealer. This one also is not a doe foot applicator, and it is also a little sploogey tube, exactly like the Makeup Forever one. And you would apply it, you know, the same way. I find personally that the IT Cosmetics Bye Bye Under Eye is almost a little bit too oily. It's very liquidy. It does give you amazing coverage, but it is very like hydrating in nature. So for people with dry skin, this works really well for you. The Makeup Forever one, right in the middle. It is not nearly as thick as the NARS one. It is not nearly as oily and creamy as the IT Cosmetics. And therefore you get very easy, flawless, effortless, and beautiful looking application. It is completely up to you. Do you want to go a little bit thicker? Do you want to go a little bit thinner? Or do you want to go somewhere right in between? If you want to go somewhere right in between, then I absolutely recommend the Makeup Forever HD Ultra Under Eye Concealer. I think I just mixed up those words. In a nutshell, you can use those 2 products to create a blank canvas on your face and then start adding color back into it, because that's what we do. We even out first and then we start adding color back into it. Thank you so much for spending this time with me. If you liked this video and learned a little something today, then please give this video a thumbs up. If you're one of my subscribers, welcome back. If you would like to be a subscriber, I would really appreciate it, and you can do so by clicking on my fancy little Mr. logo, who should be sitting right about here somewhere. Thank you again for all of your support. I hope you have a really good rest of the day. I look forward to seeing you in my next video. And in the meantime, thanks.
I said that's so deep. Just keep watching. Like I'm possessed or something. Just keep watching. I'm about to flick concealer somewhere for sure, because there is a sploogey on my hand right now. The reports on the stick, like what, like a pea stick? I tried applying. The heck is applying? I knew it. I just got concealer all over my arm. I knew it. It's the tiniest little splooge. That is just so classic me, right there.